Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Commonwealth Youth Council's event at the United Nations 10th ECOSOC Youth Forum. My name is Qasim Faraset, and I am the elected executive to the Commonwealth Youth Council. I will be moderating today's session on youth participation and engagement in achieving 2030 Agenda and Youth 2030. And we will be streaming this session live on our Commonwealth Youth Council's social media platform on Facebook and Twitter. And we will be streaming this on the UN Web TV as well. So please, those who have connected to us on our live stream, stay tuned, listen to us, and participate in the comment section by putting up your questions, as we will be taking in your live questions as we go along the meeting as well. And thank you very much for joining in. Now, without further ado, I would like to start our meeting with the opening remarks from our distinguished guest speakers. Hereby, I would, with due respect, invite our first guest speaker, Her Excellency Ms. Patricia Scotland, Secretary General of the Commonwealth, to take the floor and please start the meeting with your opening remarks. Excellency, please go ahead.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Regional and national youth leaders, network coordinators, and members, young professionals, youth leaders, colleagues. Let me begin by thanking you for joining me in this meeting to talk about the many issues and challenges facing young people across our Commonwealth, but also to explore the opportunities that lay ahead. No doubt this year has been challenging for many. We see the protests on race, on social injustice, police brutality, discrimination, and the COVID-19 pandemic has created new threats and exacerbated existing challenges and barriers. Every day, many young people around the world wake up to a growing list of new and harsh realities, trapped in a shadow of this relentless pandemic. Many of you are being robbed of the usual opportunities and denied even the chance to socialize with friends and family. Sadly, today, there is talk of the COVID generation, a generation of young people that must bear the aberrant effects of today's ruthless crisis. I know that unless urgent action is taken, you, our young people, will likely suffer severe and long-lasting impacts from the pandemic. The statistics are deeply concerning. The International Labour Organization report shows that the global youth population rose from 1 billion to 1.3 billion between 1999 and 2019. The same period saw young people engaged in the labour force drop by 71 million. That was before the pandemic. From all projections, the fallout this year will be the greatest economic crisis the world has ever seen. COVID-19 has created the largest disruption of education systems in history, affecting nearly 1.6 billion learners in more than 190 countries and all continents. Closures of schools and other learning spaces have impacted 94% of the world's student population, up to 99% in low and lower middle income countries. Before the pandemic, our education system were already at risk of leaving millions of young people, particularly girls, behind. Now we must act to save the most vulnerable children, youth, and adults, especially those living in poor or rural areas, girls, refugees, people with disabilities, to continue their learning. Learning losses threaten to erase decades of progress, not least in support of girls and young women's educational access and retention. Estimates are that 23.8 million additional children and youth from pre-primary to tertiary may drop out or not have access to school next year due to the pandemic's economic impact alone. Part of what we are not talking enough about is addressing the psychosocial needs of our youth left traumatized by this crisis. We expect significant mental health challenges in the medium to long term if we do not act now to support our young people. Given the huge potential and ingenious proclivity of our young people, we simply cannot afford to exclude anyone from our development agenda or equate youthfulness with inexperience and ignorance. This dangerous and damaging discrimination will hold all of us back from achieving our full potential. The CYP's bold new approach and strategy at the heart of the Commonwealth, mainstream youth, make young people's capabilities and capacities and rights an integral dimension of design, implementation, analysis, and monitoring and evaluation of conventions, legislation, policies, and programs in all political, economic, and social spheres at all levels, so that young people enjoy social equality. This strategy will engage young people to address equality through processes and measures for equity, justice, and fairness for all groups of young people, particularly marginalized youth. Youth mainstreaming is built on the concept of equitable intergenerational relationships and fostering of mutual respect between adults, young people, and other age cohorts. There are no purely technocratic solutions for bridging generational gaps, but solutions that are built on positive attitudes towards and respect for young people that translate to policy domains. Intergenerational equity suggests addressing the multiple ways in which young people can be discriminated against by virtue of their age in both private and public domains. If countries are serious about empowering our young people, we should do all we can to enhance the status of young people and engaging them to build on their competencies and capabilities for life. We should equip them to contribute to and benefit from a politically stable, economically viable, and legally supportive environment, ensuring their full participation. So, in the midst of this pandemic, I am determined to continue listening to your voices and experiences. What are your ideas for solutions? What we are hearing loud and clear that your demands must be included in decisions to recover and rebuild. And I urge you not to ignore or underestimate your contributions. Without your drive, innovations, and fresh, useful vision, progress will grind to a halt. Barriers and obstacles remain. So today, I would like to discuss how to remove the obstacles that block your path to contributing to sustainable development. I have met with many of you before, and I'm fully aware that the youth-led action that has made all the difference in this pandemic. I've seen young people helping the elderly, supporting their communities in service, helping in the homes with childcare, volunteering, and giving of their time. I've seen the innovative solutions you've designed and developed, which just need some extra support through private investment and publicity to save lives. I want us to talk frankly today. Let us discuss how decision makers can collaborate with you to change status quo. Let us think in radical new ways. This pandemic has given us an opportunity to reset the agenda. Let us discuss and chart the path for how we reset the agenda in the Commonwealth. Of course, you know that we in the Commonwealth remain committed to a robust youth programme, which is built on the principle of youth engagement and action, focused on empowering our young people to take the reins of their destiny. The theme for Commonwealth Youth Forum in Rwanda this year, Taking Charge of Our Future, is so important, even as we have a bold plan to fully mainstream youth across the Secretariat meaningfully in our next strategic plan and encourage member states to include young people in their strategies for building back better. Let us make the COVID generation stand for innovation, creativity, so that together we build a future that is fit for each and every one of our young people to live. I really look forward to receiving your report on these and other pertinent issues. I thank you for all that you've done to date, for all you will do, and I wish you the very best. So God bless and Godspeed.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for your opening remarks. Um, I agree with you. I fully agree with you. Now is the time for us, the youth, to take up the position, be there at the table, put up our demands, especially during this time when we are going through the challenges due to COVID 19. And I'm very thankful to you for instilling this confidence and motivation in each one of us while we find ourselves really confused that what should we do and where should we go. And I'm really hopeful that we will continue to get the same support that we have received from the Commonwealth before, from you, as we move on, especially during the Youth Forum this year. Thank you very much. Next, I would like to move on to our second guest speaker for today's session, Her Excellency Ms. Jayatma Wickramaniyake, who is the United Nations Secretary General Youth Envoy for Youth, who couldn't join us today in the live session due to her prior commitments, as we can understand that it's a very busy time for her during the ECOSOC Youth Forum. But she's been kind enough to share a video message with us for her opening remarks. So I'll play her video message and see what she has to say.
Hello everyone, my name is Jayatma Wickramaniyake. I'm the United Nations Secretary General's Envoy on Youth. And I'm very excited to welcome you today to this important event on the sidelines of the Economic and Social Council's Youth Forum. This year is a special year for the ECOSOC Youth Forum because it marks the 10th year anniversary since the forum first started. Throughout the years, ECOSOC Youth Forum has provided the space and opportunity to host candid dialogues between member states and young leaders on the topics that are important and relevant for youth around the world. Many ideas and recommendations for sustainable development goals implementation have come out of the ECOSOC Youth Forum, not only from the plenary sessions, regional and thematic discussions, but also from important dialogues that are taking place around the forum itself, such as this side event that you are attending right now. I'm very grateful to see the commitment that the organizers of this side event have given to open more spaces for young people to share their vision and action to address all the important topics that are relevant to the lives of young people. From climate action to employment to fighting against poverty and inequality and so much more. I'm very grateful also for all of you who are participating here, as this is truly reflecting of how young people are relentless in showing their commitment to bringing youth perspectives to the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It's my great hope that the conversations, ideas, and recommendations that you gain from today's event will not stop here, but also will be carried through your participation in the main ECOSOC Youth Forum's many discussions. Thank you once again, and I wish you all a successful event.
I thank our distinguished guest speakers for their opening remarks. And with that, I would like to introduce our first panel for today's meeting, where we have been joined by His Excellency Muhammad Zahid Ehsan Russell, Bangladesh State Minister for Youth and Sports. And we have been joined by Her Excellency Ala Kondratyeva, Republic of Tatarstan Deputy Minister for Youth Affairs, Russian Federation.
You're children now.
Unfortunately, we don't have our third youth minister who's not able to join us because of a surprise meeting that he had to attend. But we are expecting him to attend this meeting at some point. So hopefully we will be able to take his remarks as soon as he's able to join in. And finally, for this panel, we have our youth representative, Famida Faiza from Bangladesh, who's the Bangladesh youth delegate to the Commonwealth. Welcome, Faiza. Now, with that, I would request His Excellency Muhammad Zahid Ehsan Russell, the Bangladesh State Minister for Youth and Sports, to take the floor and deliver his statement. Excellency, please.
Thank you very much. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Honorable Ministers, moderator of today's sessions, Mr. Qasim Farasat, Executive of Commonwealth Youth Council, government, youth, and relevant stakeholders, journalists, all dignitaries and distinguished guests. Assalamu alaikum and very good day to you all. Distinguished guests, it's my pleasure to be here as a speaker. First of all, I want to thank CYC to arrange such a nice event. We know that youth are the main driving force of our development. Close to 90% of 1.8 billion youth live in developing countries, where they constitute a large proportion of the population. Without the contribution of our youth force, we cannot achieve the sustainable development goal. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to recall with profound respect Father of the Nation Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. I humbly recall the sacrifices of our martyrs of the great liberation war, which ultimately led to the independence of Bangladesh. I also like to mention that with the Bangladeshi are celebrating the birth centenary of the Father of the Nation Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, together with Golden Jubilee of Independence of Bangladesh. In these grand occasions, we are organizing the Wise Youth Capital 2020 International Program. Very recently, we organized D8 Youth Summit 2021 virtually. All these programs are sources of inspiration for the youth of Bangladesh as well as world. Ladies and gentlemen, our young people are facing incredible challenges and even life-threatening risk. To protect and support this youth, United Nations takes youth strategy. There are five priority areas of the UN youth strategy. First priority, engagement, participation, and advocacy. Second, informed and healthy foundations. Third, economic empowerment through decent work. Fourth, youth and human. And fifth priority, peace and resilience. I think this strategy will remove all the barriers and will empower our youth population. Honorable guest, the Sustainable Development Goals are a collection of 17 interlinked global goals designed to be a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. The SDGs were set in 2015 by the United Nations General Assembly and are intended to be achieved by the year 2030. It is our opportunities that the world today is home to the largest generation of young people in history. Number one, today's generation, adolescents and young people between 10 and 24 years old, is close to 1.8 billion, more than at any other time in human history. Number two, 65 out of the 169 SDG targets reference youth people explicitly or implicitly with a focus on empowerment, participation, and or well-being. Number three, there are 20 youth-specific targets spread over 6 key SDGs: Goal 2, hunger; Goal 4, education; Goal 5, gender equality; Goal 8, decent work; Goal 10, inequality; and Goal 13, climate change. Recent decades have witnessed significant advance in terms of human development, but deep challenges remain. Progress has been uneven, with many young people across the globe still experiencing interlocked forms of discrimination, limited political inclusions, high level of poverty, and limited access to healthy systems, educational opportunities, and decent jobs. To achieve SDGs, these barriers should remove, youth policies should implement. Dear guest, the goals and targets of the 2030 Agenda are in, interconnected, aiming to integrate the three dimensions of sustainable development: economic, social, and environmental. Implicitly and explicitly and or implicitly, young people are deeply embedded within their fabric. Their knowledge, rich, and innovative solutions are essential if sustainable development is to be realized. Youth people can actively participate to achieve SDGs as critical thinkers, change makers, innovators, communicators, and leaders. Young people want to and already contribute to the resilience of their communities, proposing innovative solutions, driving social progress, and inspiring political changes. They are also agents of change, mobilizing to advance the sustainable development goals to improve the lives of people, the health of the planet. Provided with the necessary skill and opportunities to needed to reach their potential, young people can be a driving force for supporting development, contributing to peace and security. Youth-led organizations need to be encouraged and empowered to participate in translating the 2030 agenda into local, national, and regional policy. The plan the play a significant role in the implementation, monitoring, and review of the agenda, as well as in holding government accountability. With political commitment and adequate resources, young people have the potential to make the most effective transformation of the world into a better place for all. Honorable guest, now I would like to mention some of the initiatives taken by the Ministry of Youth and Sports of Bangladesh to create self-employment and employment opportunities and skill manpower. We have 71 youth training centers across the country where 83 trades offered for training. Besides, can agro and vocational training project is being conducted for the village bound due to the impact of COVID-19. Under the virtual skill development project, online training programs on outsourcing and communicative language have been proposed. E-commerce platform jubopaikrisel.com, youth branding, etc., through which millions of farmers and young entrepreneurs will be directly benefited from this project are on process. The Ministry of Youth and Sports Bangladesh has also taken many initiatives to engage the youth in global action from home and abroad. We are hosting the Wise Youth Capital 2020 this year, under which 10 major international events have been planned to organize throughout the year with participation of the youth across the world. We have believed in our youth. The government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh is committed to supporting our youth to achieve sustainable development goals. Thank you, everybody. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu. Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Excellency, thank you very much for your statement. I'm very glad that you joined us today and enlightened us with the initiatives that have been taken for the youth in Bangladesh and how some of those initiatives and policies could be adopted as best practices in the world, in the Commonwealth. Next, I would like to invite Her Excellency Ayla Kontraidetova, the Youth Minister from Tatarstan, to please take the floor and deliver her statement.
Hello, I'm really glad to see you today. Thank you very much for giving me a word to talk on this platform. So let me start from the short brief about Tatarstan, where I'm from, and I'm speaking from. So it's one of the regions in Russian Federation, and it's a unique region due to its history. It's over 100 nationalities live in Tatarstan. And we can say that we have a population of 4 million people, and at the same time, every fourth citizen is youth, and we have over 140,000 students. So we definitely talk with youth because we are really committed to it. And actually, I am a representative of youth, so let me speak from our point of view. So actually, past year was not so usual for us. Many new challenges we faced, and at the same time, it gave us many opportunities to think about, and actually to think about sustainable development forward. So we, as a youth ministry that was situated 2 years ago, started from the point that nothing for youth without youth. So everything we do, whatever it, building a new camp for youth or new youth center or starting a new program should be started from the discussion, from the dialogue with youth. And of course, historically, one of the main players, and thanks them for this, it's NGOs in Tatarstan that play a great role to create this dialogue very effective. If we talk about the past year and the COVID challenges, we can say definitely about students. They were studying in distance, and at the same time, they should get their education. And it was really challenging because at the same time, we thought that our generation that is used to be always online, it will be easy for us to be online also for our education. But the first group who was really uncomfortable about distance, about lockdown, were youth. They told that it's something wrong with this, and actually we understood that it's about the normal socialization that gives educational system, schools, universities, where they can speak, where they can find their self-realization, actually find needed information. And when they were at home or when they were in their camps during lockdown, they faced a lot of challenges. So NGOs, we have, for example, League of Students that unite different representative of students. We had a very careful dialogue about what help they can get to continue their education as they used to. For example, somewhere it was about food and extra scholarships because they didn't have a job anymore. Or we can say in this situation, for example, some exams were postponed so that they could pass their exams not in a distance form. So it's very important again to talk about this, because when they were facing this problem themselves, it's really necessary was for them to find somebody who is in dialogue, who is in charge in the for their problems. And so in this case, we're really happy that dialogue platforms right now, it's not only about offline right now, but online, and it's constructive. Also, we as a ministry started some platform in Zoom where everyone could ask their questions to ministry, to any NGO they want, so that we could understand a real situation with all our youth all around the Republic and answer their question just face to face. So once again, what we also can see is that we 2 years ago also started about our restart of psychological system, of psychological help for youth. And it was really helpful during the last year. We can see that this type of help is really needed for youth. And we can see it is declared in a youth strategy 2030. It's really helpful for us to see that not only we face this problem, but all over the world we can switch methodologies and also talk about this in professional societies. So in this case, we can see that we should pay more attention to healthcare system and also to aspect of psychological health. For example, we saw the increase of the calls to the SOS line for youth in 20% during the lockdown. So it was the only thing they could ask for help just in the moment they want it, 24 hours a day. So this instrument really helpful, although they worked even before. For youth, it became really popular right now. And summarizing the main, I think, challenge for youth sphere, for youth policy right now is, of course, media. Because right now we should be efficient, we should be relevant, not only in our usual offline work, but also to be efficient and relevant online. Because right now to hear the voice of youth, to speak with them, even to give them information about what possibilities and opportunities they have, we should be online. We should speak with them on their language in Instagram, TikTok, and so on. And sometimes it's really hard for youth specialists to talk about this because they were not trained to do this. So for right now, we are retraining our specialists, we are retraining our system to work online properly so that any youth representative could go online and see whatever he or she wants to find. And it's really important. So for me, I think the most challenging right now is to work in media sphere, and I hope all the community will support me in this, and I hope we will find some new formats to work online. And I think next discussions also will support this. Okay, of course, we can talk about this more, but I hope also youth representatives, NGOs will hear us, and maybe we can find something more to work on this. So thank you very much for giving me a word. It really shows that we have a great dialogue, because I'm not from the capital. I'm right now on the dialogue with you from one of the regions in Russia. So this shows that we are really in dialogue. And from all of the youth of Tatarstan, we're saying hello and have a great youth forum. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency. I agree with you. It's been a very challenging time for the youth. And I really appreciate the efforts that you've highlighted that have been implemented in Tatarstan to help the youth cope up with this situation. And I think the purpose of today's meeting is actually in trying to understand that what's the role of the youth in achieving the 2030 agenda and the Youth 2030 strategy. And it is very critical that the youth is given a chance to be heard, because it's really them who is being affected by the strategy of the UN or or any other international organization or a country. So it was very enlightening, and I'm sure it'll be very enlightening for the other panelists as well. So thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for your statement. Next, I would like to invite Fahmida Faiza from Bangladesh to take the floor and deliver her statement on behalf of the youth of the Commonwealth and the United Nations.
Thank you, Qasim. Excellencies, honorable youth ministers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning or evening from wherever you are joining from. Thank you, CYC, for hosting this event, marking the 10th ECOSOC Youth Forum and bringing the much-needed discussion topics in focus. It is my utmost honor to be at this high-level ministerial session, joined by the Commonwealth Secretary General, UN Youth Envoy, Bangladeshi State Minister of Youth and Sports, His Excellency Zahid Ahsan Russell, MP, and Deputy Minister of Youth Affairs of Republic of Tatarstan, Russia, Her Excellency Ala Kondrateva. I am Fahmida Faiza, a Bangladeshi youth leader, currently working with the UN Youth Envoy, Jatma, and her team at the High-Level Steering Committee with Youth 2030 Secretariat to outline and strategize the global framework for UN Youth Strategy implementation, and also serving my term as the official National Youth Delegate of Bangladesh to Commonwealth. As a lawyer, youth peace builder, and social activist from South Asia, I have 12 years of experience working dedicatedly in the youth development and policy advocacy sector with the government, non-government, and multilateral stakeholders. I have led my own organization and have been serving many international organizations on diversified youth priorities and agenda. As I represent the voice of youth, pan-Commonwealth, and across UN here at today's panel, I take inspiration from my own journey. And I believe every youth leader who are watching this from around the world has their own compelling stories to share, stories of them overcoming challenges and breaking barriers. In regard to leadership, I would like to share an interesting story of a young king who lost his kingdom after his father passed away. When he went to the current king to claim his throne, the king gave him 100 sheep to look after. On the first day, a pack of wolves attacked and killed all the sheep. The next day, the young boy went to the king again, and this time he was given 50 sheep to look after. Again, wolves attacked, and he lost all of his sheep. The next day, for one last time, when he went again, he got 25 sheep only, and this time he built fences around the field, made strategy, and utilized his learning, and was able to save his sheep. So wolves couldn't attack anymore, and soon his sheep increased to thousands. When he went to the king delightfully to share the news, he was rather, at his surprise, given his throne back and kingdom as a king. The former king stated that now he has learned how to take care of his assets and protect his people from all the enemies outside, because he could now finally utilize his learning as a shepherd. Now he is ready to be a king. Before he thought he was born to be a king. Just like that, leaders are not just born, they're made. And all of us young leaders today are made through all of these challenges, overcoming barriers, and the triumphs that we all share. Youth in the post-pandemic world are facing a range of problems related to unemployment, environment, physical and mental health, violence, and a lot of other areas. Though we are doing great in our own national and individual capacity, coming from Asia, I have always seen the lack of unity among the youth leaders and organizations across the region. Asia, the largest continent, stretches from the eastern Mediterranean Sea to the western Pacific Ocean, and there is a lot of diversity across this region. Therefore, geographically, it is already challenging to combine all the youths under one umbrella. And additionally, there are more geopolitical challenges, social unrest, and lack of inclusive environment for youths in Asia. 750 million Asian youth today make up 19% of region's total population, and many countries are having demographic dividend with almost half of its population below the age of 30. Youth mainstreaming, yet still today, remains one of the key challenges to address. And no government can bring any fruitful change without including youth in all the development agendas and policies. Youths, therefore, are no longer future. We are the present, we are the priority. Therefore, as we all gather here today at this auspicious event and share our voice for youth development, let us pledge for a world for inclusive and enabling environment for youth from now onwards. Lastly, I would recommend Commonwealth, UN, and governments to join hands for a regional platform for Asian youth to reflect our common challenges and share our resources for a collaborative development plan. Post-pandemic world has made us connected than ever before, and we are virtually engaged now, and anything is possible when we join hands. Let's work together and deliver the youth commitments and priorities as a greater force, more powerful than ever. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Famita Faiza from Bangladesh. Thank you, all the excellencies, for your statements. And before I move on to the question answer sessions, where we would be taking in questions from our live audience, I would like to take this opportunity to launch an initiative of the Commonwealth Youth Council for the youth of the Asian region. And here I would like to request Kavita, who is my colleague from the Commonwealth Youth Council, who has created a video to explain this idea on the Asian Regional Youth Collaboration Mechanism. So Kavita, if you would like to say a few things, and then I would play your video for all of us.
Hello, everyone. This is a great honor for me to be a part of this event. Thank you, Kasim, for the opportunity. Great suggestions and ideas, and great speech from the panelists. So, we are excited to announce that we are forming a platform to bring youths across Asia together as one strong, united voice in tackling youth related issues. We hope that we all can come together by suggesting innovative ideas and implementing them the right way. We will be looking forward to all of your participation and support. Each of you will be a great addition to this initiative. So after this launch, please share the news to your fellow youth members. You people say that youth are the future, but youth are not the future. We are here now. So the following would be the short introduction video of this union and followed by logo reveal by Kasim. Over to you, Kasim.
Asia is the home to largest youth population in the world, but their voices are hardly heard. Frustrations, ignored, sidelined. These are some words most Asian youths can relate to.
I think the youths have so much to bring and share to the world. But how can they do it?
A group of young minds came together and they thought, why not we give a platform uniting 750 million voices across Asia? And that's how Asian Youth Union formed.
Asian Youth Union is the first youth-led initiative to represent and coordinate youth-related issues. From education, entrepreneurship, to climate change, we're giving the opportunity for youths to speak for youths.
People say youth are the future. We beg to differ.
We are here. We are the present.
So, youths, join us and let's come together as one united force at Asian Youth Union.
Thank you so much, Kavita. This was such a great introduction about the Asian Youth Union, about the idea of collaborating the Asian regional youth. This collaboration mechanism will be the first of its kind for the Asian youth, which is the biggest youth cohort across all the regions of the world. So it fills me with a lot of excitement that we have finally come to this point after a year and a half of struggle, collaborating with the governments, getting to have the mandates from the governments, the youth, getting the support from the Commonwealth, that finally today we will be launching this initiative of the Asian Youth Union. So with this, I would like to play a quick video on the launch of the official logo of Asian Youth Union. And I would take this opportunity for this event on the launch of AYU to be witnessed by our guest speakers, our excellencies, and our dear panelists. All right. So moving on, we in the respect of time, we don't have a lot of time where I could ask you a lot of questions, but there's one question naturally coming up for the Asian Youth Union, and I think it put things into a very good context. It's coming from our live audience, and I would like our excellencies, our panelists for the first panel to please answer this question. And I will put it up as a banner so that everyone can see. So the question that we are getting commonly from our live audience is that, Our Excellencies, how do you envision Asian Youth Union as a collaborative platform to unite Asian youth? And what could be the potential partnership opportunities for youth, governments, and all the stakeholders? So, Excellency Ala, if I could put you on the floor first for the answer to this question.
So thank you very much for this presentation, for this video. Actually, it's really great that we are talking about Asian Youth Union because, as we know, geographical unions really help because they always talk about mostly one problems that youth population faces, and also we can say that in this case we can discuss local agenda. So as Tatarstan youth, we allocated actually between European part of Russia and Asian part of Russia. We understand the agenda of as European youth population, as Asian youth population. In this case, it's really necessary for us to talk about Asian agenda. We're really committed to talk about this, and as we could potential partnership, we can take an opportunity. I think when we face the dialogue between youth and governments, and also we add all stakeholders who are involved, it's always an efficient dialogue. And it's really necessary because we can understand that sometimes, for example, we can say government do not hear youth, or youth do not see the position or opportunities that governments create. Or we can say, for example, it's actually very important even in employment sphere where, for example, business do not hear youth or do not understand young workers. So in this case, I think Asian Youth Union will be really efficient, but if the agenda will be really specific and supported by youth and by governments. But I hope, and we have everything to create this agenda efficient and relevant. So as a youth and as a government representative, we are really committed, we are really ready to help to create this agenda.
Thank you very much, Excellency. This is very comforting and this is very motivating for us. And I really hope that we can find opportunities on collaboration with you, with your government. Thank you very much. With that, I would like to wrap up our first panel. In the interest of time, I'd like to move on. We're running a little behind time, but I'm sure my co-moderator will be able to speed things up. And I am thankful to my panelists who have extended their time to stay with us in this meeting. And I really hope that we are able to manage all our deliverables within the given time. So with that, no further ado, I would like to invite and introduce my co-moderator for today's session, Fasahatul Hassan, who's the chair of the Youth Advocacy Network. And he will be co-moderating the next panel of the international organizations. So Fasahat, over to you.
Thank you very much, Qasim, and congratulations to the young people who are witnessing today the Asian Youth Union, how this has been launched. And of course, I'm very thankful to the distinguished panels and excellencies who have joined us today. So thank you so very much. And I would request now Qasim. Yeah. So thank you very much. So today in the International Organizations panel, we have approximately 6 people with us. Number one, I would like to introduce first my panel today from the international organizations. On top of it, His Excellency Mr. Taha Ehan, the President of Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum. Then we have Mr. Rabia Kasuri, Counselor Political Affairs, Pakistan High Commission, United Kingdom. I just received the message that maybe she would not be able to join due to some technical issues. Then I have Miss Janice Todola, immediate past chair, Royal Commonwealth Society of Canada. Then we have Miss Hila Motunda, project manager, United Nations Association of Canada. And then we have Dr. M. Aventog, Assistant Dean for Innovation and Community Development, College of Islamic Studies, Qatar. And last but not the least, the young leader, Miss Eileen Go, young professional from Commonwealth Secretariat. Welcome to the panel, and thank you so much for taking out your time. It's my privilege to have such a great panel today with us. And I would like to start with my dear friend, His Excellency Taha Ehan Bey from Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, to please deliver his statement.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's great for us to be here. First, I would like to extend my warm greetings and highly appreciate the efforts of our esteemed organizing partners, especially namely Mr. Qasim Farasat Bey and Saad Hassan Bey, my dear brothers. And I wish all the blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the new initiative of Commonwealth Youth Council as the Asian office. Commonwealth Youth Council, Institute of Sustainable Development Cooperation, Youth Advocacy Network, and United Nations Major Group for Children and Youth. Also, the names that I have to thank for such a great occasion. It's a great pleasure to be part of this valuable side event and share some of our thoughts and ideas on how young people can strive to create a better future on achieve the sustainable development goals given all the challenges they are currently facing. I wish this program could be held on the ground, but I believe we will reach more people through online as well. So for the moment, at least under these circumstances, I prefer to enjoy the moment and enjoy this current situation. We are here today also to share with you some contributions of youth organizations working to find solutions and play a role in the betterment and well-being of our communities, societies, and states, and to shape the future with their knowledge, experience, and determination to bring in change. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, one of the cross-cutting objectives of the Youth 2030 is to promote the engagement and active participation of youth in the implementation of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Also, the Sustainable Development Goals stress the need to ensure that the decision-making is responsive, inclusive, participatory, and representative. This leads us to address the main questions of this esteemed panel. I'm sure all of us here we see that there's a clear need for concerted action and solidarity in the field of youth. This can only be achieved by means of informed policy, capacity building, made towards the present and future needs of our youth, high impact strategy, and sustainable initiatives. The OIC is fortunately home to be the best positioned framework for realizing sustainable youth development throughout each of our member states, which is a total of 56 member states. ICF position is youth must not be seen as challenge to be managed, but instead a vital human capital in need of care and investment. Only by developing their knowledge, skills, and competencies can youth become active and meaningful participants in the development agenda. So we wish and we want to see the youth as the policy makers, or at least a part of the policy making mechanisms. Youth have a significant effect on all aspects of socio-economic growth and development, with a direct bearing on unemployment rates, violence, political participation, innovation, research, industrialization, job creation, and entrepreneurship. I can say that youth relates to all of the areas of society and social development, all keys to nation's growth and success. In summary, effective youth empowerment would actualize youth potential while reinforcing central values and core ideals underpinning socio-economic growth. For the next 10 years, ICYF's main priorities will remain guided by the OIC Youth Strategy and Joint Youth Plan of Action and the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. And we will continue to be open to any kind of collaboration and cooperation with all the international organizations, because we believe that without the orchestrating our efforts, we cannot achieve any kind of goals which are very dramatic challenges in front of humanity. Through our solidarity and united action, our commitments will be amplified as reflections of political will of those striving to improve the conditions of youth throughout the world. And improving the condition of the youth means that improving our societies and improving our world and improving our future as well. With your strong support, you focus on the empowerment of youth by tackling issues of unemployment and furthering innovation and entrepreneurship, while ensuring that the struggle against one of the biggest problems of nowadays, Islamophobia and radicalization and extremism and disenfranchisement remain key items of our agenda. Also, when we are looking for how youth can support the 2030 agenda and how can we see that youth for an effective participation, as per the OIC 2025 plan of action adopted during the OIC summit in line with the United Nations SDGs, emphasizes vice place on the need for youth capacity building and guided engagement in critical sectors of economic growth, peace and security, human rights, and entrepreneurship. I do believe that young people will play a big role in how our world adapts to these challenges. With youth comes energy, innovation, and optimism. When there are supportive environments and opportunities, these lay the ground for major positive contributions by youth. It is also true that alienated, unsatisfied, sidelined, or excluded youth cannot make the positive contribution societies and our world as a whole need. And also, such treatment behavior against our young people will create a necessity to rehabilitate those young people to include them again to our societies as well. Youth contributed to implementing the SDGs agenda by sharing with their governments and the United Nations institutions their ideas through very consultative procedures, including the online sessions, panels like this one, meetings before and after the pandemic, and being actively represented in the negotiations of the new agenda through the groups and youth NGOs and institutions are some of the few examples that how youth can participate and make a contribution to the social development. ICWF contributed by our focus and custom designed programs to promotion and implementation of sustainable agenda. We always had our goals to promote peaceful and inclusive societies which provide access to justice for all and build effective and inclusive institutions at all levels. The inclusion of this goal is a recognition of the link between achieving sustainable development and peace. The preamble of the 2030 Agenda itself notes that there can be no sustainable development without peace and no peace without sustainable development. We also worked to build the capacity of youth for employment and to eradicate extreme poverty. We have made it our role to ensure equal access for all girls to our online and offline vocational educations. Likewise, we have made big efforts to disseminate awareness about violence against girls and provide trainings and opportunities to ensure employment of young males and females. Today, we continue to offer courses, trainings, and platforms for capacity building, equipping our young people with all necessary skills needed in life and the job market. Also, when we look at how to ensure active coordination and partnership among young youth organizations at all levels for the betterment and development of our youth. Firstly, our approach to strategic youth development and capacity building represented by the 5 E's: educate, empower, engage, enrich, and examine. We can achieve this approach step by step with devotion and joint actions. In light within the ICYF goals, I wholeheartedly believe that our youth will have a brighter future. I envision empowered youth throughout the OIC region who actualize their full potential in pursuit of the sustainable development of their communities, nations, and world, driven by Islamic values of cooperation, excellence, and unity. Our efforts must be united and guided by the spirit of the true cooperation and solidarity, while building inclusive partnerships with youth of all ages and genders in the OIC region and further strengthening our contribution towards the youth empowerment and sustainable development. We need to continue to recognize and empower the positive contributions of youth while respecting their diversity, needs, and hopes. To succeed, we will need to continue the commitment and support of all youth organizations, states, and networks of partners. Youth today is still not fully engaged in decision-making processes, at the local or national levels. Current models of involvement do not give youth positions in which we are able to affect real change. Many political, social, and economic decisions are still made with limited youth participation. However, we are increasingly demanding that youth be involved in the decision shapings of communities and futures. In response, several countries have established youth structures and programs to bring youth voices to government representatives. And for peace, I want to remind you that in the history, there is one unique decision that has been adopted by the United Nations Security Council, which promotes cooperation with youth on reaching the global peace and security politics. So this decision of UNSC also underlines, highlights, and underscores the importance of youth on peace and policymaking procedures. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the bright future of our youth is dependent on the smart investment in their talents, minds, and quality education. Only when we join our efforts and hold each other's hands in close cooperation and solidarity shall we overcome all global problems and challenges. For this, as the international organizations, we have to give hand in hand. It's my wish that the ideas formulated and raised here today will go far in addressing the challenges of our youth and communities and in making the best of the limitless potential found in our youth and future they deserve. Again, I want to express my profound thanks to all the organizers and all the people who had made efforts for realizing this event. And again, I want to underline that as ICYF, we are always committed to serve to the youth of the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear brother Taha Ehan from ICYF. And I think you mentioned very rightly that youth must not be taken as a challenge, but as an opportunity. And I think that is the approach that the organization should, and of course the government in particular, should take it forward. And of course, during this hard time of pandemic, the way ICYF has been engaging young people was commendable. And I really appreciate the overall support of ICYF to the young people in the region and overall. And so thank you very much, dear brother Taha Ehan, for your participation and remarks in today's event. With no further ado, I would request Ms. Jenny Stodola, immediate past chair, Royal Commonwealth Society of Canada. Please take the floor and deliver your speech.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, Your Excellencies, distinguished panelists, and those watching from around the world. My name is Jenny Stodola, and I speak to you today from Kingston, Ontario, Canada. If you were to draw an imaginary straight line from Toronto to Montreal, from west to east, you would find Kingston right in the middle, a small city on the shores of Lake Ontario. It is situated on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee people. I'm grateful to be able to live, work, and play on these lands as a settler, a second-generation Canadian, born here from parents who immigrated here from Central Europe to escape an unstable political situation. In Canada, there has been a practice for several years in some places, and in others, much more recently, to acknowledge traditional territory at events such as these, or cultural or academic events. It is to recognize the longer history of the land, one predating the establishment of the earliest European colonies. It's also to acknowledge the territory's significance for the Indigenous peoples who lived and continue to live upon it, and whose practices and spiritualities were tied to the land and continue to develop in relationship to the territory and its other inhabitants today. It is my understanding that this territory is included in the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and the Confederacy of the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. The Kingston Indigenous community continues to reflect these roots. There's also significant Métis community as First Peoples from other nations across Turtle Island, what we know as Canada and North America, present here today. I bring up the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant as I feel it is something that brings us into the context of today's discussion. I have learned from elders who have spoken about this covenant that the dish is the land that is to be shared peacefully, and the spoon represents individuals living on and using the land. The land should not be abused or polluted. The dish remains clean. Individuals should only take what they need and always leave resources for others. The dish should never be empty. This enabled indigenous peoples of the Great Lakes to negotiate peace agreements and live sustainably. Today, we can view these in the greater context of the Sustainable Development Goals and living in a neoliberal and neocolonial society. The Commonwealth is an organization that holds historical roots in the British Empire, and it is in the legacy that we find one of the most challenging subjects to face. Reconciling the origins of the Commonwealth with its modern principles and values is critical to ensure the Commonwealth continues to help countries who continue to be impacted by colonialism to write a new future for themselves, including my homeland of Canada. The modern Commonwealth is a voluntary association of states that share common values. The principles of the Commonwealth Charter are vital in creating the dialogue and discussion that is necessary for reconciliation to take place. These conversations about governance and equality are taking place at the highest levels of international governance through the UN, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meetings, and championed by civil societies like the RCS to become universally accessible for Commonwealth citizens. Today, the Commonwealth is an organization that centers on undoing this legacy and healing the wounds of colonialism, not only through dialogue, but also using shared resources and institutions. The Commonwealth helps vulnerable nations by advising them on trade policy, supporting the democratic and legal institutions through knowledge sharing and independent monitoring, and promoting the protection of constitutional rights for minorities and vulnerable populations. We must remember, though, that our countries, including Canada, are not post-colonial, where colonization is a closed chapter of the past, but it is neocolonial, or embedded with continued impact seen to this day, sometimes in overt and sometimes in hidden ways. As we look at the Youth 2030 agenda, I can use my experiences through the RCS and the Commonwealth Network, as well as a Canadian, to mention a few youth-related activities, policies, and initiatives that might bring us closer to our 2030 goals. Along the way, we may find some different perspectives to consider and appreciate from the youth perspective. Youth today in the age group 15 to 24 have many more advantages to engage with their communities compared to even cohort of my peers just before them. The internet and the information and connections it brings at a lower cost, or sometimes even for free, is present at almost every corner of the world. Cell phones are even more pervasive and easily accessible than the internet. Consistently, in my country, youth aged 15 to 24 are the demographic that proportionally volunteer the most. It makes sense in a way. Youth see volunteering not only as an altruistic community act, but also a way to build professional skills, get diverse experience, and build their resumes. Many high schools also require a minimum number of volunteer hours dedicated over 4 years in order to graduate. A policy intended to help students identify with the idea of civic engagement. These programs are flexible, allowing one to volunteer virtually anywhere according to their interests. The ability to connect with each other through social media and other internet-based methods facilitates youth participation in their community to meet the needs that they identify. To meet the goals of Youth 2030, I would suggest we focus on bringing into the fold many organizations that already represent youth perspectives. For example, created in 2015, the Commonwealth Youth Gender Equity Network is a youth-led and focused network which actively promotes and supports the meaningful inclusion of youth voices on gender equity issues in local, national, regional, and Commonwealth international agendas. As a current action point, SciGen is calling for leaders of all 54 Commonwealth countries to reform laws that discriminate against women and girls and LGBT+ people, many of which are colonial legacies. Reforming these laws would not only end discriminatory practices, but increase the number of individuals who can actively contribute to the workforce as productive members of society and the economy. This also ties in with the advantage of the UN working with blocks of countries with similar characteristics, such as the Commonwealth. All these countries share the same official language, legislative structures, and basis for their legal codes. This allows for the sharing of resources and best practices, as I mentioned previously. This can be done at the highest level through training of judges through the Commonwealth Judicial Education Institute, or training of legislators or members of parliament through the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Even at this level, youth can be engaged with the democratic process through model youth parliaments, a successful initiative here in Canada. These organizations are often set up as non-partisan, non-profit organizations run entirely by youth, dedicated to bringing the experience of parliamentary democracy to the youth of the province. The topics for debate are chosen by the members themselves at the event and often relate to topics that are of interest or featured in the news. However, debates can also involve discussion on how the organization is operated, such as cabinet portfolios, thereby teaching youth about all aspects of the legislative process. This is also reflected in the Commonwealth Youth Parliament, which is hosted yearly in a different Commonwealth country, bringing youth representatives together to debate pan-Commonwealth issues. An observation I have made when chatting and engaging with youth is that they are acutely well aware of the world around them. Growing up in a 24-hour news cycle and often plugged into social media networks, they are learning about the issues they are passionate about, not only at their local level, but how it fits into the greater quilt of their nation, region, or even the world. Growing up with the SDGs, as opposed to the Millennium Development Goals, has already framed their actions and perspectives in a fundamentally different way. While well-intentioned, the MDGs were limited in scope and often developed without consultation with the countries it aimed to aid. The SDGs were developed with more consultation and a wider array of stakeholders. In this paradigm, the world is complex, the world is diverse, and everything is interconnected. You cannot destroy something without negatively impacting something else. But at the same time, you cannot just improve one thing. Inevitably, there will be positive collateral improvement on another area. Increasingly, we put value not only on database and evidence-based practice, but on the lived experience of our fellow humans to help inform where we can do the most good. Even as a simple exercise for employers to consider, even though I did spend some time emphasizing how much youth volunteer, how do I, as an employer, interpret a resume for a recent graduate? Do I place a large value on volunteering? If yes, then why? What barriers might there be for someone to not have had significant volunteer experience? And how can we capture these different experiences in the interview to ensure we choose the best fit for our organization, even if it might not appear on paper? Increasingly, youth are embracing their whole identities as a person and incorporating it as a public component of their personalities and ways of living. Whether it be their religion, gender expression, or sexuality, frank discussions regarding their personal living situation or mental health, there's a real demand for interpersonal and intercultural understanding. Young people are not only proud of their own heritage and culture, they're open to learning about different cultures and practices for themselves and support the dignity of the whole person. Many programs supported by youth serving or youth-centered organizations support their work. There are things like youth advisory councils, youth councils, and model Commonwealth heads of government meetings, as well as national youth policies that can be enacted to support this work. I want to draw again in closing a parallel with the dish with one spoon. Hope for the future is something that inspires and empowers youth to participate and contribute to the communities in Canada. And with the SDGs and the UN, we can work together to reach these goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your points, and of course, I think the major takeaway I think in your statement is like that we should acknowledge and celebrate the indigenous communities, which is very important, and I really appreciate that you mentioned about that. And of course, the resources and the climate change, and of course, the role of young people in the whole process is very important. So thank you so much for that. Again, considering the time, I would request again my distinguished panelists, please. If, of course, I mean, I know this subject is, I mean, we can speak and talk on this subject for maybe hours and hours, and there is still things will be missing. So I would really request my distinguished panelists to please, if we can maintain it within 5 minutes. It would also give us the opportunity to take some comments and questions from the young audience as well. So not any further ado, I would request Dr. M. Avran Tok, Assistant Dean for Innovation and Community Development, College of Islamic Studies of Qatar. Please take the floor and share your thoughts with us. Thank you.
Excellencies, panelists, dear esteemed participants. First of all, I'm really honored as part of Qatar Foundation, Hamad bin Khalifa University, College of Islamic Studies. It's such an honor to be part of this event, and we really cherish and appreciate the opportunity. While the future shape and trajectory of our post-COVID humanity remains uncertain, it is safe to assume that innovative thinking, leadership, and ethics should inform our responses to the new reality. It is imperative that the future generations are part of key decision-making processes, including here in the Middle East and North Africa. Accordingly, a global reset of humanity and society should be defined by inclusive, creative, and ethically focused problem-solving mindsets that help build stronger and more inclusive communities. Humankind cannot develop by merely being individuals. We can only develop together as a community by holding on to our moral values and ethics that guide us through life. This realization prompted my college and my organization to engage in a multilateral and inter-organizational endeavor, and to create a global initiative that truly emphasizes the importance of the values and the need to collectivize our resources and efforts to build communities of practice by disrupting the existing models of teaching and learning. Thereby, we built an initiative called Design Post-COVID Humanity, Ta'aruf, Ta'awun, and Tarahum, or in English, Acquaintance, Cooperation, and Mercifulness for Human Dignity. Fundamental values and virtues of humanity that we commonly understand as universal conditions for the advancement of humankind need to be reimagined, especially by the youth. If I refer back to the theme of this year's ECOSOC, it says sustainable and resilient recovery from COVID-19, building an inclusive and effective path for the achievement of 2030 agenda, in the context of the decade of action and delivery for sustainable development. So here, recovery is not only future-oriented. It needs intergenerational transmission of experience and knowledge. Therefore, Ta'aruf, which is acquaintance, we need to be acquainted with our past experiences. Recovery is not about COVID only, but historically established and accumulated inequalities and injustices that has been affecting our humanity. Inclusive and effective path, which is Ta'awun, which is cooperation, we need collective action. Design post-COVID humanity we built aimed at co-designing, co-producing, and coexisting. And finally, action and delivery, it is about Tarahum, which is mercifulness. We need to help the youth to better absorb skills that can use for empathy and deliver to the needed ones. And finally, the chairperson of Qatar Foundation, one of the global advocates of sustainable development goals, Her Highness Sheikha Moza bin Nasser, chairperson of Qatar Foundation, right at the beginning of the COVID-19, last year around these times, underlined the importance of coming back to our senses. We believe that Youth 2030 agenda is an opportunity to come back to our senses and design a post-COVID humanity which is more fair, sustainable, and inclusive. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kevin, for your remarks. And I really appreciate the way that the project that you just mentioned about that, how young people, and particularly in this time of crisis, that how we can take things forward. So thank you very much for your remarks. And now I would request Ms. Melissa Mutunda, Project Manager, the United Nations Association of Canada. Please take the floor.
Thank you so much. And thanks to the CYC for inviting me today. I'm very much honored to be joining you. Like I was introduced, my name is Melissa Mutunda. I'm also calling from Canada, at this time from Ottawa, on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. And so I work as a project manager. And today I thought I would share with you my personal story, what I do, and some of the things that I enjoy doing on a regular basis. And so my passion really lies in youth engagement and social change, just so we can all drive sustainable results. And so on a regular basis, I support hands-on training activities and programming that really empower youth to become agent of change within the communities and also abroad with our partners. And at UNA Canada, there is a variety of projects from UN models to Canada Green Corps, where participants have the opportunity to gain meaningful employment. But then, as part of my work, I'm responsible for planning and also implementing all aspects of the Generation SDG program. Now, you may ask, what is that program? This is really a youth-led initiative with the goal to activate civic engagement in youth and really empower them by providing them with resources, peer mentorship, micro grants, and much needed resources so that they can collaborate together and come up with tangible projects, tangible initiatives that are responding to challenging issues within their communities. And so this year, we put together 60 youth that have responded with a spirit of civic engagement and volunteerism across the country and across the world. And so, because it was the pandemic, that we all had to face, it wasn't easy. But as they will tell you, it was always possible. This time around, we have really emphasized on skills or learning such as online engagement and outreach, sustainable communications, collaboration, reconciliation and awareness, diversity, equity, and inclusion, just so that they can be even more equipped to do this work online. And so today we are really able to witness their creativity, innovation, and it's just been such a great journey. And so for all of you listening today, I hope that like this young SDG ambassadors from Canada, you will also commit today to embark on this solution-seeking effort to achieve your own 2030 agenda, from your home, and how that connects to the UN 2030 Sustainable Development Goals agenda. And so I thought I would share with you some of the advices that our youth cohort really share with the future generation. And as you're listening, if you are a young person, take a moment to reflect on these words. So we've asked our participants, what advice would that give to the next cohorts of SDG ambassadors or to the next cohorts of agents of change? This is what they said. Think big, be persistent. Although you might need to wing it, but be realistic. Deeper into people's lives. Keep going. Ask for help. Time is your most valuable asset. Learn how to manage it. Go for it. Follow your heart. And so these are just some of the words that they shared with us. And I'm so honored to be sharing with you guys today. And with that, I say again, thank you for inviting me. And I'm just looking forward to even hearing more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Melissa. I really like your advices, and especially the advices coming from young people is very important. So thank you so much for inspiring so many young people around the world. I really appreciate your participation, and we are looking forward to have you and with interact you in future as well. Uh, Last but not the least, I would really request the young leader and the young professional from Commonwealth Secretariat, Miss Aline Go. Please take the floor and share your thoughts with us today.
Thank you, Fasahat, and thank you all our speakers for taking time today to share your very insightful thoughts. And I'm Eileen Goh. Yes, thank you, Fasahat, for introducing me. A young professional at the Commonwealth Secretariat. But today, I would like this put on hat as just a young youth from the Commonwealth and really represent the 1.2 billion young people across the 54 countries of the Commonwealth. And our 12 Commonwealth Youth Networks, 10 of which are under the Commonwealth Youth Program. So just very quickly, as the speakers before me have already covered many areas that we definitely need to work on. But the two main critical areas to ensure a more effective and sustainable implementation of youth participation and leadership in decision making and policy making systems would be the first one on youth rights and youth mainstreaming. At the Commonwealth, we always push for youth mainstreaming, and if youth mainstreaming is truly accomplished, the needs of our young people will genuinely be heard, be understood, be assessed, and then be met. So meetings like today would then materialize into intricate discussion about new innovative ideas and not a repetition of, for example, recommendations that we as young people have continuously made. So it is right that people, regardless of age, are given the opportunity to holistically and be accurately represented in any decision making that affects them. We need to create a level playing field where factors such as age is not conveniently used as an outlet to overlook voices of young people. The rights of young people should be discussed as importantly as any minority groups that we represent. The second thing would definitely be partnerships and collaboration. So young people across the world are passionate, are socially conscious, and we want to leave a positive mark on our planet. We want to leverage on our passion in protecting the environment, in catalyzing social impact, with the aim of achieving double, triple bottom lines. And we need the not only investments and support to equip us with the tools and opportunities to play our part, but as young people, what we really need to do as a global citizen who are concerned about large, complex issues like climate change and constant under and unemployment of our peers and friends, we no longer can achieve these successes in silos and alone. And even at times, we fear to share knowledge and ideas. But as young people, we call all young people today and current leaders of today that we need to stand united as a team, regardless of nationality, ethnicity, or religion, and really start to share openly and generously together, to share knowledge, to share opportunities, and be more collaborative than ever to support each other in order to achieve the progress that we want and need. As a united force, and only if we're united, we will then be heard louder. We will then be able to achieve goals faster and be able to start shaping the world to be better, to be fairer, and to be more livable, not only for our generation, but the next generation onwards. So we'll then again really call on all young people to think about us as youth around the world as one team, and how can we share more generously and more openly than ever in order to be a voice that can no longer be ignored. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aline, for your comments, especially saying that we, the young people, should actually not only support each other but also take every initiative as one. So thank you so much for your remarks as well. We are already behind the time, so I would not go much into the questions. I would just say, like, purpose of this panel, and there was one question which was coming up again and again. So I would just I will just add it as a question, the takeaway thing, that how the youth organizations, international youth organizations, can support each other, particularly when it comes to the youth initiatives worldwide. So how young people, how the youth organizations can support each other to achieve sustainable development and meaningful youth participation, not just the participation. So that is the kind of question, and I'm again very much thankful to all of you for taking out time and even staying after. Since we have already exceeded the time, so thank you so very much for your time and for your remarks. And I would now hand over to my dear friend Qasim Farasat.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Fasahat, and I would extend what you said. There is an opportunity for us, the youth, to step up and take over the position where we have this placement within the policy makers, within the stakeholders, and we are able to participate in the policy and the decision making. I'm very thankful to our distinguished guest speakers, to the excellencies who joined us for our first panel, and of course, our second panel on the international organizations. I could understand that we went over time, and it's always challenging when you are hosting a virtual event. So I apologize to everyone here for not being able to make it within the given time. And I'm very thankful for each one of you for staying over time and giving your remarks and your feedback. Before I wrap up, I would like to conclude by saying that this meeting, even though we would want it to be an interactive dialogue between the youth and the government, was not really an interactive session. It was more of an opportunity for us to develop that network, to develop that connection between the youth and the government and the international organizations and any other stakeholders who've been watching us through our live streaming at the social media platforms or on the UN web. And I believe that from the support that we have been committed by our excellencies who were representing their respected governments, the support that we have been committed by the international organizations who were part of this meeting, and any other organization that have been listening to us, with that support, with their commitment, we are able to take this work forward. We're able to take these interactions forward and do further short group meetings which have specific agendas to them. That was the whole idea, and that was the opportunity behind this behind this side event on the 10th Economic ECOSOC, on the 10th ECOSOC Youth Forum, in discussing the youth engagement and participation in achieving 2030 Agenda and Youth 2030. So I'm very thankful again to all of you who have been listening to us, and I regret that we were not able to take a lot of questions from our live audience due to the fact that we were running short on time. But I've taken note of those questions, and I would share with each of the guest panelists the questions so that there's an opportunity for them to answer those questions for you. And we will try to make similar kind of dialogue sessions moving forward as well. So with thanking everyone again, and I've been receiving these messages and comments that everyone wants to see the video on the Asian Youth Union again. So at the end, I will just play that, and that's where we will wrap up. So thank you, everyone, and take care. Have a good day, good evening, good afternoon, wherever each one of us is, and we'll hopefully connect again for more opportunities and collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Asia is the home to largest youth population in the world. But their voices are hardly heard. Frustrations, ignored, sidelined. These are some words most Asian youths can relate to.
I think the youths have so much to bring and share to the world.
But how can they do it?
A group of young minds came together and they thought, why not we give a platform uniting 750 million voices across Asia? And that's how Asian Youth Union formed.
Asian Youth Union is the first youth-led initiative to represent and coordinate youth-related issues. From education, entrepreneurship, to climate change, we are given the opportunity for youths to speak for youths.
People say youth are the future. We beg to differ.
We are here. We are the present.
So, youths, join us and let's come together as one united force at Asian Youth Union.